Today, we step away from the noise of the modern world to explore the philosophy of a man who is perhaps the most misunderstood figure in history, a thinker whose words were designed not to soothe the masses, but to wake the individual from a deep, centuries-long sleep. Friedrich Nietzsche did not write for those who seek comfort in the crowd. He wrote for the solitary wanderers, those brave enough to dance on the edge of the abyss and find a hidden beauty in the fall. In the spirit of The Secret to an Easy Life, we are going to peel back the layers of his perceived darkness to find the radiant, life-affirming light hidden within his most challenging ideas. We will discover that an easy life is not one devoid of struggle, but one where every struggle has been transformed into a masterpiece of personal will and creative joy, allowing the spirit to soar above the valleys of resentment and mediocrity. To understand Nietzsche, we must first visualize the environment in which his thoughts were born, the high, lonely peaks of the Swiss Alps, where he spent his most productive years in deep isolation. He believed that the majority of us live in a state of spiritual sleepwalking, blindly following values that were never ours and carrying burdens that belong to a dead past or a collective expectation. For Nietzsche, the secret to a truly meaningful life starts with a radical act of honesty, the recognition that we are the sole architects of our own reality and the ultimate judges of our own worth. He famously spoke of the death of God, which was not a celebration of atheism, but a terrifying and prophetic warning that the old maps of morality and meaning had dissolved. Without an external compass, the modern human is left in a void. Yet, it is precisely in this vast emptiness that the opportunity for the ultimate freedom arises, allowing us to build a life that is no longer a reaction to external rules, but a direct expression of our inner truth. The core of Nietzsche's wisdom for any modern seeker lies in the transformative concept of Amor Fati, or the love of one's fate, which remains the ultimate tool for attaining psychological ease in a world of chaos. Amor Fati is far more than mere resignation or passive acceptance. It is a passionate, total embrace of every single moment of your life, the bitter as well as the sweet, the failures as well as the triumphs. It is the realization that to wish for even a single thing to be different in your past is to wish for yourself to be a different person entirely, rejecting the very lessons that forged your soul. When we resist our fate, we create an internal friction that wears down our spirit, leading to the exhaustion and resentment that make life feel heavy and unbearable. But when we love our fate, we become invincible because we no longer see obstacles as interruptions to our path, but as the very fabric of the path itself, turning every challenge into fuel for the fire of our existence. Nietzsche invites us to confront a thought experiment he called the Eternal Recurrence, a concept that serves as the most demanding litmus test for a life well lived and a soul at peace. Imagine a demon creeping into your loneliest loneliness and telling you that this life, exactly as you have lived it, with every unspoken sigh and every radiant joy, will have to be lived again and again, an infinite number of times. There will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every pleasure and every unutterably small or great thing in your life must return to you, all in the same succession and sequence. This question is the ultimate gateway to an easy life, because it forces us to live in a way that we would be willing to repeat for all eternity, demanding that we stop wasting our vital energy on trivialities. If you can say yes to the eternal recurrence, you have mastered the art of living, for you have aligned your daily actions with the weight of eternal significance. To reach this state of total affirmation, Nietzsche describes the evolution of the human spirit through three distinct and profound metamorphoses: the camel, the lion, and finally, the child. Most people begin their journey as the camel, a beast of burden that thrives on taking on the heavy weights of tradition, societal expectations, and the thou shouts of those around them. The camel seeks to prove its strength by carrying more than it should, often losing its own identity in the process of serving external masters and seeking validation from the herd. It finds a distorted sense of pride in its endurance, but it is a life of service to others' values, a weight that eventually breaks the spirit in the middle of a lonely desert. To move toward freedom, the spirit must recognize that it is burdened by weights that do not belong to it, initiating the first step toward a liberation that few truly dare to pursue. In the loneliest part of the desert, the second metamorphosis occurs as the spirit becomes a lion, a creature of rebellion that seeks to conquer its freedom and be master in its own domain. The lion's task is to say a sacred no to the great dragon of tradition, whose every scale glitters with the words "thou shalt," representing thousands of years of inherited values. The lion fights for the right to create its own values, tearing down the old structures and clearing the internal space required for a new way of being. Yet the lion is still a creature of conflict, defined largely by what it opposes. While the lion's strength is necessary to break the chains of the past, it cannot yet create the new world. It is a transitional state of fire and teeth, a necessary stage of destruction that prepares the ground for the highest level of human development. Many people get stuck in the lion stage, spending their lives in anger against the world, never realizing that true freedom requires moving beyond rebellion into a state of pure creation. The final and highest stage of the spirit is the metamorphosis into the child, who represents a new beginning, a sacred yes to life, and a state of effortless, creative play. The child does not react to the world or fight against the past. The child creates the world anew through the innocence of the present moment, viewing life as a game of discovery rather than a burden of duty. This is the secret to the easy life that Nietzsche envisioned, a state where our work, our relationships, and our very existence are expressions of a spontaneous, self-propelling wheel of joy. The child has forgotten the burdens of the camel and the anger of the lion, choosing instead to play with the materials of reality as an artist plays with colors on a canvas. When you reach the stage of the child, your life becomes easy not because the world has changed, but because you have returned to the source of your own creative power, where every action is a gift to yourself. Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, or the overman, is often misinterpreted as a biological or political goal, but in its true essence, it is the ultimate psychological and spiritual aspiration for the individual seeking self-mastery. The Ubermensch is the person who has overcome their human, all too human limitations, their fears, their small-mindedness, their need for external validation, and their reliance on comfortable lies. This is someone who has recognized that life is a process of constant self-overcoming, a never-ending climb toward a higher, more integrated version of oneself that transcends the mediocrity of the masses. In our modern context, the Übermensch is the one who refuses to play the role of the victim, who takes full responsibility for their internal state, and who views their personality as a raw material to be sculpted into a work of art. This path does not seek the easy life through safety, but through the mastery of one's own will, finding a sense of grace that comes from being the absolute captain of one's soul. To understand the mechanics of this mastery, we must look at the balance between the Apollonian and the Dionysian forces that Nietzsche identified as the two pillars of human existence. The Apollonian represents order, logic, clarity, and the beautiful dream of individuality. It is the force that builds cities, writes laws, and seeks to understand the world through the lens of reason and structure. The Dionysian, conversely, is the force of chaos, intoxication, music, and the terrifying yet beautiful dissolution of the self into the primordial unity of nature. Nietzsche argued that a truly fulfilled life requires a synthesis of both. Too much Apollo leads to a rigid, sterile existence, while too much Dionysus leads to madness and the loss of the self. The secret to an easy life is found in the dancing star that is born when we allow our internal chaos to be shaped and channeled by our internal order, creating a life that is both deeply passionate and perfectly disciplined. Nietzsche was one of the greatest advocates of solitude in the history of thought, believing that the noise of the herd is the single greatest obstacle to the attainment of inner peace and self-discovery. He warned that when we spend all our time in the company of others, we inevitably begin to adopt their rhythms, their anxieties, their petty goals, and their distorted views of what matters. To find your own voice, you must be willing to retreat into the mountains of your own mind, away from the distractions of the marketplace and the constant, subtle judgment of the crowd. Solitude is not the same as loneliness. It is the sacred time and space required for the spirit to breathe, to reflect on its own nature, and to strengthen its own resolve against the tide of conformity. It is only in the quiet moments of deep, uninterrupted reflection that we can finally hear the whispers of our own will, unclouded by a world that desperately wants us to be predictable and compliant. One of Nietzsche's most incisive and relevant critiques for our modern era was directed at ressentiment, or the morality of resentment, which is the tendency to judge life because of our own internal failures. He observed that many people hide their bitterness and feelings of inadequacy behind a mask of virtue, condemning the strong, the happy, and the successful because they themselves feel weak or miserable. This resentment is a slow-acting poison that makes an easy life impossible, for it anchors the heart to the very things it claims to hate, keeping the spirit trapped in a cycle of comparison and judgment. Nietzsche encourages us to move beyond this reactive state toward a noble way of being, where our actions flow from a place of abundance and internal wealth rather than lack or envy. When you are truly full of life and creative energy, you have no need to judge or compete with others. You simply exist as a fountain of affirmation, blessing the world with your presence because you have finally stopped being at war with yourself. Nietzsche believed that suffering is not something to be avoided at all costs, but rather the very fire that tempers the soul and gives it the depth required to experience true heights of joy. He argued that the modern obsession with comfort and the elimination of pain is actually a path towards spiritual atrophy, leading to a life that is shallow, fragile, and ultimately meaningless. Just as a tree needs the wind and the storm to grow deep roots, a human being needs the challenges of life to develop the resilience and the character that make a state of ease possible. The secret to an easy life is not to have fewer problems, but to become a larger person who can handle any problem with a sense of play and mastery. When we stop viewing suffering as a mistake or an injustice, we can begin to use it as a tool for self-transformation, carving away the parts of ourselves that are weak or insincere until only the radiant core of our true being remains. The will to power is another concept often misunderstood as a desire to dominate others, but for Nietzsche, it was primarily about the expansion and self-overcoming of one's own vital energy and internal potential. It is the drive that makes a flower bloom through the sidewalk, or an artist stay up all night to finish a masterpiece. The inherent desire of life to grow, to overcome its own limits, and to manifest its own unique power. In your daily life, the will to power is the energy you use to break a bad habit, to learn a new skill, or to stay true to your vision when the world tells you to give up. It is the opposite of the will to nothingness, or the desire to escape from life into dreams or addictions. By aligning yourself with your own will to power, You find a source of energy that is inexhaustible, making the tasks of life feel lighter and more purposeful because they are driven by an internal necessity rather than an external pressure. Nietzsche often wrote about the importance of levity and laughter, believing that the spirit only truly reaches its peak when it can look down upon the tragedies of life and laugh with a sense of divine playfulness. He criticized the spirit of gravity, which is the tendency to take oneself and one's problems too seriously, turning the journey of life into a somber march toward the grave. For Nietzsche, a life of ease is a life of the gay science, where the pursuit of truth and wisdom is not a dry academic exercise, but a joyful, dancing exploration of the world's mysteries. He famously said that he would only believe in a God who knew how to dance, suggesting that the highest state of existence is one where we can be light-footed even in the face of the most profound truths. Laughter is the ultimate weapon against the heaviness of the world, a way of signaling to the universe that you are not its victim, but its appreciative and playful guest. To live according to Nietzsche's vision is to view your life as a singular work of art, where every habit, every word, and every relationship is a deliberate choice made by the artist that is you. Most people live accidentally, reacting to whatever happens to them and allowing their character to be shaped by the random influences of their environment. But the one who seeks the easy life in Nietzsche's sense is a self-stylist, someone who applies a coherent vision to their entire existence, smoothing out the contradictions and emphasizing the strengths of their unique nature. This requires a level of discipline that may seem difficult at first, but it ultimately leads to a profound sense of harmony and ease as the different parts of your life begin to work together toward a single, beautiful purpose. When your life has a style, even your flaws become part of the composition, contributing to the overall depth and character of the masterpiece you are creating. We must also embrace the idea of the great noon, the moment in a person's life when the shadows are shortest and the clarity of purpose is at its peak, signaling the transition from the old self to the new. This is the moment when you realize that you no longer need to look outside yourself for meaning, for you have found the sun within your own heart that illuminates everything you see. It is the state of being fully awake, where the illusions of the past have vanished and the potential of the future is limited only by your own imagination and courage. Reaching this noon is the goal of all of Nietzsche's philosophy, to bring you to a point of such intense presence and affirmation that the world itself seems to be born again through your eyes. In this state, life is not something that happens to you. It is something that flows through you, effortless and radiant, as you become a co-creator with the forces of the universe. As we move toward the conclusion of this exploration of Nietzsche's challenging yet ultimately radiant world, let us remember that the secret to an easy life is found in the courage to be difficult with ourselves. It is the profound ease that comes only after a long and arduous climb, the deep peace that is earned through the fire of radical self-transformation and the rejection of all comfortable lies. Nietzsche reminds us that we are not here to merely endure our existence, but to celebrate it with every breath, to turn our deepest suffering into the purest gold, and to love our fate so much that we would live it 1,000 times over without changing a single detail. You are the sole architect of your own values, the lion of your own desert, and the innocent child of your own infinite future. Embrace the chaos within you, find the order that gives it form, and never stop the process of becoming who you truly are in the deepest core of your being. The mountains are calling to you, the abyss is waiting for your dance, and the grand, mysterious play of your life has only just begun to reveal its true potential. Stay curious about your own depths, Stay brave in the face of your own darkness, and always remember that the most beautiful secrets of an easy life are often hidden behind the masks we are most afraid to remove. Friedrich Nietzsche did not want disciples. He wanted companions, fellow wanderers who were willing to leave the safety of the valley to seek the truth on the heights. As you walk your own path, let his words be a torch that illuminates the way, reminding you that there is no greater joy than the joy of a spirit that has finally set itself free. The journey may be long and the path may be steep, but the view from the top is worth every step, and the ease you find there is a gift that no one can ever take away from you. This is the secret of the easy life, to be at home in yourself, in your fate, and in the eternal dance of existence, saying a sacred yes to everything that was, everything that is, and everything that is yet to be.